about the narratives that have been told throughout human history, the notion of permanence is roundly criticized, one might say, throughout all of the deep stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything is impermanent, everything changes all of the time. Any kind of real inquiry and observation of the world reveals that simple fact very obviously, just in the nature of your own lived experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is permanent. And so, what's fascinating is that a large part of the frontier technology worlds are not telling the story of immutability and permanence and saying that nothing is permanent and basing it, either in Buddhist teachings or various other spiritual traditions, which have realized that nothing is really permanent, is not to denigrate the claim of immutability and
Mm-hmm.
permanence. It's just to hold these two in generative tension,
Mm-hmm.
right? And to recognize the conventional nature of any narrative that we tell, because in so doing, you can find creative ways around it.
Mm.
Um,
But
like,
but to that point, I mean, finding the creative ways around it, like, yes, you can commit a line of code to the Bitcoin repo, but the reason many would argue that's not practical is because of the incentive structure that underlies those power dynamics, where, and similar in a proof of stake system, like arguably you can change things, but because people have capital at stake, they choose to essentially operate within those incentives of, they don't want to lose that capital or they want to grow that capital, right? And that economic incentive is what is underpinning and part of the breakthrough here, right? That these decentralized trust systems can exist because of economic incentives. So yeah, help me understand how that fits within this framework. I understand you're not trying to trivialize the power structures, but like, is that space for play really so flexible?
my claim is that it's as flexible as we make it, but you're right to point at the practical reality of the economic incentive structures which exist at this particular point in time.
Mm,
I think that you know the the technical way of framing what you're saying is that the real power of these kinds of networks is the ability to make durable commitments, durable and economically meaningful commitments,
mm,
right? Because like those kinds of commitments, technically speaking, are what allow us to warp games, right? So like in game theory, you basically have the chance to either cooperate or defect.
mm-hmm,
Uh, there are other moves in more complicated games, but just the basic games, cooperate and defect. And when you can warp games, you could change the nature of the incentive structures in them to, either
mm,
like lean more towards cooperation or more towards defection. And credible commitments of a meaningful economic kind allow you to warp games towards, generally speaking, better forms of cooperation.
mm,
That takes a long time, and it inevitably faces up against the reality of economic incentives as they exist in the wider world.
mm-hmm,
And that reality can feel overwhelming.
mm,
It, in my mind, is what results in a lot of the cognitive dissonance that technologists experience who work with this particular
mm-hmm,
technology, precisely because it feels so urgent and because we need to go about changing the financial structure of incentives in the world, and yet doing so is generational work.
mm-hmm,
Right? Beo Kamalafe, I think even on this podcast, said that the times are urgent. We really need to slow down.
mm-hmm,
And that capacity to hold contradiction can really be very challenging, particularly when you're working on like the precise code, which
mm-hmm.
can shift the incentive structures, but of course you have to get people to buy into them, right?
Right.
And this illustrates like the deeper problem why a lot of this stuff isn't necessarily just about like our capacity to write precise code capable of altering incentive structures or warping games, more
Mm,
broadly speaking, but the actually much harder and deeper work of changing people's minds. And I'm reminded of a conversation between Sadhguru and Vitalik Buterin, which was um, a wonder to watch for various different reasons. And Sadhguru at one point tells a story about a project that he has been running to plant trees in Uttar Pradesh because of the pending ecological crisis there. And the goal was to plant 140 million trees in 20 years. It's now 24 years later, and they've only planted 80 million trees. I say only because they didn't reach the goal, right?
mm-hmm,
Because the incentive structures in the world are just enormously difficult to move against.
mm-hmm,
but they still planted 80 million trees, and that has made a significant difference to all kinds of ecological indicators in Uttar Pradesh.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that he gave was what was most fascinating to me. He said that the project was delayed by 6 to 8 years because for those 6 to 8 first years, I had to spend planting trees in people's minds. And that's the most difficult and dangerous of territories, right? Literally, and he means it literally, he's not speaking mystically. He literally had to take people to go and sit beneath trees and lead a particular kind of meditation where you breathe in the oxygen from the tree and breathe out the carbon dioxide that the tree needs to photosynthesize food. And you really, in your own body, feel the cycle of air moving through like this shared ecology. And for 6 to 8 years, that's what they did before people of their own accord started planting trees, right? And it's the same thing here, right? You're absolutely right. Like people are locked in to economic incentives for all sorts of reasons, many of them quite noble and well-intentioned, supporting my family, paying school fees, supporting the community, making sure my rates and taxes are paid, my mortgage is kept up, whatever it is, right? Like all of these are valid reasons for remaining within the economic system that exists. And when you really get to know people and understand the nuances of their life, you can't judge, right? Like that's, in some sense, the root of compassion, right? Is knowing that like if I were you, I would not do an atom's worth of difference. And so given that, like, what do we do? Right? Because it's not just the code that one writes. As you say, yeah, sure, PR to the repo and it's done. But that doesn't get merged because of all of the psychological and socio-political structures that exist, which are much, much more difficult to change and in fact require generational work, right? Like it's not the work of one generation to undo the system that we find ourselves with, because that system has been generated often with good intention by a long line of ancestors. The work here is to understand what brought us to this moment and to think about the nature of the commitments required to warp the games that we are playing towards slightly more cooperative and pro-social outcomes that are aligned with life. And like that's a very interesting, like what are those commitments? Because they're like both of the technical kind. You need to be able to write a program in a particular kind of way which expresses ideas about power and value that are different to the ones that currently exist. But you also need to be able to tell narratives and share human relationships and wider than human relationships, which of themselves are a kind of commitment, right? You will know that in any number of different storytelling traditions or wisdom traditions around the world, that notion of commitments or vow is critical to anything really moving in the world. And it's the same thing, right? Like we forget because all of a sudden the language in which the commitment or the vow is enacted is something like solidity as opposed to English, but it's the same basic structure. And what is required perhaps at this point is an understanding that, you know, it's commitments across the stack that need to be made, both those that are narrative, like what's happening in this podcast, people really being able to kind of explore in dialogue what are the stories and the narratives and the ways of relating to ourselves and the wider world that we need to form in order to have a more healthy self and world. And you know, it's the same conversation in between technologists. It just takes place in a slightly different language. And so those commitments are really like the key to the whole thing, because when one commits with heart, one is able to transcend convention. Right? There's something really important about the relationship to sort of seeing convention as it is and being able to transcend it, and recognizing that the mechanism by which that actually happens is sort of heartful commitment.
So your work spans a number of different terrains, I guess, but I've understood it to somewhat have this frame of mechanism design. And I think you're alluding to that in terms of these commitments. Can you say more about this framing of mechanism design, and then maybe walk us through a bit of context of how you've been engaging in this field of inquiry, and then maybe we can look ahead a little bit at what's exciting you?
Sure. Mechanism design is often imagined as only a field of sort of scientific or engineering application. right? It's like one is trying to, through the lens of particularly game theory, understand the incentive structures behind any interaction which power any behavior, and think carefully about the kinds of constraints which might alter those incentives and result in a different kind of behavior. But even by virtue of that description, you'll see that it cannot be limited to only science and engineering. It's not just about the nature of the code one writes, it's also about the kind of story you tell about what that code is and how it should be used. So Bitcoin has a very particular story about immutability and permanence and deflationary monetary theory, right? That resonates with some people, particularly those that are exposed to highly inflationary currencies, which are controlled by corrupt and centralized governments. But it's not the only way of thinking about healthy financial systems or monetary theory writ large. And the reason for that is because science and engineering in and of themselves are not able to capture the full nuance and range of ambiguity held in the human experience. And so for me, the journey into mechanism design has been one of trying to understand the multidisciplinary nature of the field and then learn the skills required to apply contextually different kinds of skills when necessary. For instance, one of the most inhumane and asymmetric systems that exists on the planet at the moment is the US penal system. And one of the things that happens in this particular system is that prisoners can accrue debt while they're behind bars for child services, restitution payments, any number of things. And yet, while behind bars, you're not allowed to work and earn a salary.
Hello. Good afternoon or morning, wherever you are. Got my water. So let's get into it now. Where were we? So we have user pages, click to view, certain leaderboards, player filtering, and then the main new thing is the daily summary. So here's what's been worked on today. Sayo's right here. Nice. Working on adding new services and features such as memory retrieval, client agent, CRUD operations, and Gitcoin passport. So I need to talk to you actually because we're thinking we might need to use Gitcoin passport as a means of authenticating people's accounts with Discord and GitHub and their wallet addresses and linking them all together and having some level of Sybil resistance as a key primitive of this new kind of DAO coordination tool that we're building to be like self-sovereign and AI agent native. So yeah, we would basically implement Gitcoin passport flow within like this dashboard. You sign in with your wallet, link your Discord and GitHubs, and then that becomes your identity. And we could maybe even think about issuing account abstraction wallets, although that's a bit iffy because it usually has more backend dependencies. So yeah. And yeah, so you can go browse the previous days, and as you know, this is super insanely fast because this is all statically generated. So every day it runs and regenerates the whole UI with whatever updates are in the data. And then, yeah, instantly loads. But what we're going to be working on today is actually dealing with this really long list. So on lower power devices especially, you notice it more. It can actually take some time to render that whole list. So the reason is we're actually just rendering all like 500 DOM elements just raw, you know. And so we did use React Suspense to like show the loading state when you're on mobile. But if you actually want to make it fast, we're going to use this thing called TanStack Virtual. So with TanStack Virtual, it just lets us virtualize the DOM nodes and basically makes it look like it's scrolling, but it's actually just like adding and removing DOM elements and moving them up and down that window. And so it's platform agnostic, which is nice. And it's supposed to be super easy to use. So I haven't tried it before, but we're going to implement it right now. And let's see. Yeah, virtual. Okay. So need to find which page we want to send to cursor as the docs. I think just this page. Add new custom docs. I guess React Virtual. Let's call it what it is. TanStack. Also, all the TanStack stuff is super OP. So shout out Tanner Lindsay. Let's see. Okay. So now we are going to try to one-shot this with chat or composer. Let's go to the page of Leaderboard. So integrate TanStack Virtual into the Leaderboard component so that the list of Leaderboard cards is virtualized. Start by installing it. Okay. So let's see if anyone's joined chat. Oh, hey, what up? I still have to figure out how to bring chat messages onto the stream. Should integrate into the StreamOS that I just pulled up there. Chat app. Okay, so yes, we got both FARCASTLE and Eliza working together, and the reason for that is like AI agents are going to be the core of DAO tooling in the future, bar none. So, and FARCASTLE, it makes sense for it to use it to help Eliza DAO or AI16Z DAO to have DAO native tooling that's built with agents in mind. combined with like the UX of FARCASTLE, and combined with like the last 5 years of our experience trying to build DAO tools and coordination mechanisms and compensation protocols and whatnot. So yeah, it's almost like I was talking to Travis Weiss earlier. I was telling him it's like feels almost like a moral obligation that we need to help these guys know how to DAO. So yeah, let's make it happen. Yes. Yeah, exactly. The micro loans and the wallet to wallet interactions. That's the big unlock with AI, is just like how fast you can build software now. It's just insane, you know, like even with this leaderboard, the 100x efficiency. So the cost of software has gone way down, and it actually makes way more sense to start building purpose-built niche software for specific communities and use cases, instead of having monolithic platforms that are rigid in their structure and interface and require communities to adopt it, instead of the software molding itself around how the community is actually operating. And with AI 16Z, it's such a huge community of so many open source devs that it's like the perfect substrate to build DAO tools, because it's actual people wanting to coordinate already around something. And that something is reflexively, in a meta way, the thing that will help build the DAO tools in the best way, which is a open source AI agent framework focused on like self-sovereign AI tools intersected with crypto. So yeah, shout out Jin for roping me into this. We've been grinding in the trenches for many years now with MetaFactory and other stuff. So yeah, feels just right at home. Yeah, exactly. M3 goes all the way back. All right, let's get this rolling. What do we have here? Use virtualizer. Okay. Added a bunch of state stuff. Oh no, just user ref. Okay. Parent ref, virtualizer. How many users do we have? Scroll element. Estimate size. How tall is the leaderboard card? Let's see. It's 80. Wonder if we should just set the height statically. No, actually, it'll set it on its own. Use virtualizer. Where is that? Okay. 80 overscan 5. Is that the recommended settings? Overscan the number of items centered above the visible area. Okay, that's fine. What's the default for that though? Doesn't say the default. Okay, we'll see. Is it actually working already, or let's see, height 600 pixels, overflow auto, get total size. Okay. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's actually working. Let's load it on my iPhone. See if that works. Maybe let me just throttle this. Mid-tier mobile. Let's try that. Just close that. Okay, so let's see initial load. Scrolling's like that. And then see if search is any faster. Okay, there's still some parts that are slow. So that part we can fix with React suspense. So let's see. When I am typing in the search, sometimes it slows down and gets janky updating the text box at the same time as rendering all the it's rendering all the elements. Right. I have to tell it what to do. Use React suspense to render fallback states while to improve performance. Okay. Yeah, Bolt is dope for prototyping. No, there's no X account for FARCASTLE. It's just a Warpcast channel. FARCASTLE itself doesn't exist as an organization. It's just like a philosophy on how to build DAOs. And so the only organizations that will exist are individual raids, which is a thing that people are building as a part of Farcaster. And essentially I'm going to promote this too as like a way to structure DAO ops in AI 16Z or for Eliza is break down the work into raids and have people forming raids and people funding the raids and then getting rewarded retroactively with DAO tokens for the raids that succeed and deliver something valuable. So yeah, long story short, it's intentional not to have like a FARCASTLE account itself or like a central FARCASTLE DAO itself. Outside of like the FARCASTLE channel on Warpcast. And so that channel is like the conduit or the medium in which the community can come together. And so that's a castle as opposed to a raid. So castles are meant to be like just a community shelling point, not necessarily an executional unit that's going to do the work to accomplish some goal. All the work happens in raids, but then castles are the place that after you finish a raid, you come back to resupply and heal up and form new raid parties or, you know, help maintain the castle, whatever it is. I was streaming my iPhone with the new feature on Mac that you can duplicate your iPhone screen on your desktop. So let me actually try fixing that, see if we can load it on iPhone, because that's the proper test of what it feels like to scroll that on mobile. I need to find what my desktop is called, the IP address at least. Try going to it. Should have went here first, actually. Let's see if this loads. I think I didn't change my Wi-Fi. There you go. Okay, so let me pull it back up on my desktop. iPhone mirroring. Cheers, man. No, I'm not on Windows. It's actually just a fake, like, Windows 98 style bar on the bottom. But yeah, nice. Thanks for coming by. We'll chat soon. So yes, let's go back here. Okay, so this does get a bit messed up here. Wonder if that's happening on here. It's not on here. Okay. Maybe it did estimate the right size and I just messed it up. Okay, parent ref. Okay. Row virtualizer, get total size. Okay. Okay, I think it's because the overflow of the row size is here. So we should set them strictly. It's not happening here, is it? Oh, wow. Okay. So this is not even loaded on localhost. I'm a dummy. There you go. This is what we have. And yeah, okay, same issue. So okay. see what that does. Okay, it's not going to print the overflow. Maybe we just don't render those on mobile. It'd be kind of poopy. 96 height. Then if you go here, it's 96, but it's too tall, so it's not being centered anymore. Okay, maybe we just don't render those on mobile. It's a tough call though. Let's see what Kircher says. It's not going to do it properly. No. Okay. Let's see what it does. Wow. Cleaned up the code a lot, actually. That's nice. There's big gaps in between them, though. What's going on? 72 high, and then also 72 high. So we should now be able to set this to 72 and be in a much better place. But I want to render it not as like this container. So okay, yeah, fixed variable. Okay, variable size elements. Okay. Okay, it's like if each row is a deterministic size height. Kind of hacky. I'd rather just make it constant. Dynamic. So yeah, in 30 minutes from now, we're gonna be joined by another dev from AI16Z that's gonna work with us on doing some of the OAuth account linking stuff. Dynamic. Okay. Also, yeah, development mode performance is worse. But if it's nice performance in developer mode, then you're definitely good for production. Okay. Nice. Okay, this is probably what I'm looking for. Something that scrolls the whole window. Yeah, okay. I don't want to implement the window virtualizer as a box inside the page. I want the whole page to scroll using the window virtualizer from TanStack virtual. Here's some example code from the docs. Okay. It's kind of nice to hold examples in one file so you can copy paste it. Okay. Okay, let's see if it did it. Whoa. Something's up. It's not rendering properly. Okay. Okay, so filtering the list is pretty fast now, it looks like. Yeah, and then let's throttle it. No, arc. Cannot do that right now. Into your mobile. Okay, refresh. How does it load? The render is super slow now for some reason. Okay, so it's just the initial render that's slow, or okay. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna build this. Leaderboard. Okay. Build. And then package JSON. Should add this command directly. There you go. Okay. Okay, that's not bad. Yeah. Let's go mid-tier. Whole page scrolling. Search. Daily summary still works fine, I'm sure. Need to fix the padding on mobile though. Oh. Let me go back to this. Actually, let me test it out on my iPhone first as well. Okay. It's ran pretty well in low power mode. The blanks is kind of, can maybe increase that. The look ahead or overscan. Maybe try 10. 15. We'll see. So this is the production version that's running. Yeah, so search is a bit slower when there's a skill selected, looks like. Yeah, slightly less smooth, but that's okay. Okay, I need to fix that too on mobile. Daily summary. Card. Oh, let's run the proper version. Bun dev. Okay. Back to the live version. Oh, no throttling. Wait, is this even used anywhere? No, actually. Just delete. This is what's there. And then I think it's going to be used on the daily page. Let's just inspect where it's coming from. Container. Okay. Padding X2, 4, 6. I think 6 is fine. It's better than 8, what it was before. Then let's go see here. Yeah, it's perfectly fine. If you wanted, you could really do this. Whatever. not a big deal, but it is a bit cleaner. Okay, then the user profile. Let's go fix that real quick. On mobile, it was looking funky like that. So I think it's actually with like longer names like this one. Let's go back to like this. Yeah. There. iPhone 12 Pro is a decent target to cover like your 80% baseline for smallest phone sizes. I think we just need to get rid of that outer card on this profile thing. User profile. Okay. Move the outer card wrapper on this component, making it a contain. Wait, BRDB a container? Yeah, it is. Where to go? User profile. Okay, good. Good start. It's a little bit more work in the okay. Yep. Add a little bit more padding. Okay. That's fine. Okay. So avatar we need to make smaller. And then okay, maybe this should be SM, SM, SM. Okay. Should be even smaller. Something weird going on there too. Okay, the focus areas as well needs to be fixed. Made much smaller. the focus area badges should be much more compact on mobile. Okay. Total level and XPs can all be smaller. Actually, I'm just gonna tell this to do that, and then the total level. What time is it? 10 more minutes. Let's see if they're online. Okay. That's the total level, total XP, and focus areas should be made stacked vertically on mobile instead of horizontally. Maybe even for desktop it might make sense to do it that way. Actually make it a grid where total level and total XP are side by side on top, and focus areas is full width below. Actually, yeah, she's got it to do it as a proper CSS grid. Okay, that's nice. Go fix the avatar size again. $16. See that. Then so now the avatar can stay its size. And we can put it like this. Then MD item start. Let's see. Okay, clean. Can get pretty small, but the padding we need to fix on mobile. MD SM padding for, yeah. Yeah, I really like making stuff smaller on mobile. Makes a lot of sense. Let's do it with the skill cards too. A little bit. Okay. Still working. Let's go throttle it. Okay, let's see what it does with the default. If I don't set the overscan to anything. Low end mobile rendering. Wonder if there's a like suspense thing or example. Smooth scroll. Don't need that sticky. That might be useful. Good to know. Fetching server pages. React table, huh? That might be the better way to use this. Yeah. Virtualized table. Okay, so let's see. I don't think that's any better. Okay, now let's do it with overscan. Definitely think that's a bit better. Yeah, I'd say so. Okay, we're gonna keep that. Overscan at 15. Now let's build this and make sure nothing broke. No, I should have done it differently. Okay, check out. And WebStorm makes it all so easy. So I'm just using command line now because I don't have WebStorm. So I'm sad. Okay. Okay. Wonder what'll happen if I don't hard code the height like this. Okay, so to make it 72, maybe I just need the slightest bit more padding. So now that's too much. I guess we're gonna hard code the padding. You might as well hard code the height. Yeah. Keep it like that. Now in mobile, I want to switch out the rank, the avatar. Okay. I think we're happy with that. Gonna redo this part. I think was in user profile. So when rendering potentially large numbers like this, we over 10,000 make a helper utility in lib folder to parse and render the number as, for example, instead of 49479. Okay. Okay. Didn't actually do the formatting though. Oh, there you go. So we'll just default this to 1 and then pass this in so that we can do it to 3 digits here. It's good to traverse it. Okay. Looking clean. If I do say so myself. Let's push this. Okay. Before that happens, let's push what we have, and then we can kind of talk about what we're doing about account linking and all that fun stuff. Just want to fix one more thing with the leaderboard card. Fix some of these margins. Yeah. That's good. Okay, so render these as badges just to make it look a bit nicer. Okay. It's a bit cleaner. Don't need too much orange everywhere. And then could probably increase the gap a little bit. I think that's cleaner. And then could do maybe medium on this. Yeah, that's clean. All right, let's ship it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Git push origin virtualized list. Okay, now let's go to ElizaOS and make a PR. See what's going on in AI16Z. It's in V2 loading. Let's see. Change the name. The Discord AI16Z is now V2 loading. Wonder what that means. Should I put a hat on my emoji or my, PFP in Eliza hat? Would that be fun? I don't know, maybe. Let's see, what do you have to say, Code Rabbit? Nice summary. Thanks, Code Rabbit. I always hated doing all this work of documenting everything I'm doing, but now AI can help, so I can just zoom with the code, Whoa, okay, sequence diagram. Explains it all. Oh, stuff to improve the workflow. Nice. Only one comment from CodeRabbit. It's basically kind of the new metric of like good code one-shotting. So if you can make a PR and it doesn't offer too many suggestions. Yeah, nothing. But hopefully the build passes. I didn't actually check the build. Let me do that. This is my Achilles heel. It's forgetting to run build before pushing. I need to set up the proper, yeah, here. You set up the proper linting and type checking before push. Let's do that now, actually. Telling Jin to not merge yet. Just give me any warnings. Okay. Okay, we'll talk to them shortly. For now, we are seeing if there's any complaints in the console. Nope, there's not. We are okay. So this PR should be good to go. Right here. Good. Let's join the partner chat. Just waiting for them to join now. Yo, partner chat. Good, mic seems to be working. Yo, hello. Yeah, mic working. 1, 2, 3. Yep. Yeah, I think we're good. You don't know how long it took to set this all up with multiple computers, multiple audio sources, mixing, minusing audio so everyone can hear the right things. No one hears their own voice. There's no echoes. I mean, it's still probably messed up a bunch of stuff, but we'll get there. But it's much better now than ever was. It's the first time it's properly functional, as you can see that I'm now actually streaming. Let's see. We have 20 more minutes left. Tell them off and then. It's good sesh. Pretty happy with what we have. Let's run the final version again on my iPhone, see how it goes. Phone needs charge though. Okay. fast load, decent scroll performance, some 1% batteries is kind of worst case scenario. There's like a downside, yeah, you're going to see a bit more blank states as you scroll, but overall the performance will be better. Hey man, how's it going?
Yeah. How are you?
Good, good.
Yeah, nice to speak. I liked your stream.
Thank you.
Yeah. Something in particular. So I saw you're still doing some changes. That's cool. Something in particular you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, I'm curious what you had going with the auth workflow, you know, the
Yes.
linking stuff.
Yeah, so I managed to kind of put the button and stuff. The only issue you have is because it's a static generation button and it's kind of running on GitHub. The issue is you don't have a server, right, to rely on to kind of do the callback. So the two options I have, and that's where I stopped kind of last night, it was late, was either I kind of put everything client side, but that means exposing potentially the app secret. And that's not great for security because some people, you know, like you never know like what might happen, and some people might want to like put a maybe man in the middle attack or something like that, but I don't know. But the second option, which I think was actually interesting, was doing Verso serverless function to actually serve that. So that's where I was leading towards.
Yeah, I think the like lowest friction path is just to deploy it on Vercel, and then with Next.js we can just use NextAuth. That's basically like plug and play.
Yes.
That's definitely the easiest, most straightforward way.
Yeah, so that's what I was doing. So that's what I was doing.
Great. Yeah.
It's quite new to me, to be honest. I'm more of a Python developer at the beginning, but I like the website as kind of an opportunity to learn TypeScript and kind of play around with it.
For sure.
And yeah.
Yeah, do you want to like share your screen or something and show me what you have? I can like guide you through it or like see what you have.
Unfortunately, I did my work now.
Oh, okay.
So
all good.
I don't have it.
I'll just share them.
Let me try where my commit where doing local.
Your voice is kind of chopping up. I don't know if it's your connection or something. Your voice, it's kind of choppy. It sounds like you're underwater or something.
Can you hear now?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah, I think it's just the AirPods that are shit.
Yeah.
1 sec. Let me have a look. So because I was working, I don't know where I want. Yeah, I was still kind of. Actually, you might want to check my commits. I can send you my repo, and then we can start from there.
Sure.
Let me send it. Have a look at the commits. I was actually doing that, and then here you go. And then I stopped and I looked at it, and I was like actually on Vercel starting to deploy the serverless function. So that's where I stopped yesterday.
Got it. So I'm guessing you added some routes in here, API.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. And were you using NextAuth or just rolling your own?
No, I was trying to do my own thing first.
Got it.
But then I realized it was not going to work. I saved all the secrets on my repo.
Yeah. Okay, got it. Yeah, I would say like go show you NextAuth. NextAuth is the easiest way to do it. So you basically like they'll get you to make like a catch-all API route. This syntax in the file path name just basically means that any routes of auth, like any routes below auth, it'll be handled by this function. And so in this function, you just like export default next auth options, and then it basically behind the scenes like generates all the proper sign in, callback, sign out endpoints at under like API auth, and then yeah.
And this would work with like the issue you have is at build it will kind of take the secrets from your.
Yeah, so for this, all good. For the secrets, like you can set it up in the okay.
Hey, sorry, I'm back.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. I'll take up deal with that. But yeah, let me. So what I wanted to ask was, how does it work in terms of because the secrets are kind of pulled up at the build, right, from the repo secrets, but that means next auth would kind of expose them on client side if we do everything client side, right? So what you think of that?
So all the next auth stuff runs server side. The way like Next.js works is that any calls you make from like the client side, you'll just like make the calls to the API route. So even though like Next.js is basically not just client only at this point, it's like server and client together. So all the API routes run only on the server. And then it'll pull the environment variables from the local environment. So in the GitHub build, it was configured in like the GitHub environment variables. But if you deploy to Vercel, Vercel will have its own like environment variable settings that we can configure there. That's where we put the secrets.
Okay, interesting. So what you're leaning towards, because what I wanted to do is kind of a thing in the middle. So what you're leaning towards is kind of a full version with like having it with the virtual server running. I wanted to try to
Sorry,
just the callback.
Your voice cut out again.
Can you hear me?
I think it's better now.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Sorry. Hey man, sorry.
Okay, all good.
Just, yeah.
All is happening in 30 minutes. I had a parcel pickup and the guy called me to. Anyway.
No worries.
So yeah, so what do you think about the serverless option in Vercel just to keep it kind of lightweight?
So
That's
yeah,
where I was.
Nextauth is like fully serverless. It's basically the best adapter to do like serverless auth. So basically when you make the API route and then export like Nextauth like this, it's just like it generating a set of the like you can see the REST API here. The sign in, there's a sign in provider to like trigger authentication with specific provider. The callbacks, sign out, so it handles all the callbacks, all the like session management and everything. So you don't have to kind of like worry about the implementation details. And you can see like you can secure certain pages, you know, using like the Next.js middleware and stuff. But yeah, this is
all of that would work on like GitHub pages. Like if once because GitHub pages is a static HTML that runs at build, right?
Yeah.
So how we still need to have kind of a server deployed at some point, right?
Yeah. So the server will be hosted on Vercel, and it will just be like a bunch of serverless functions that get deployed that the front end will talk to for the auth and stuff.
Yeah,
so
yeah. So that's the route that
it's
was
still
going.
the whole app will still be statically rendered. It's just like the Next.js compiler like swaps out any calls to like the backend with you know, the actual URL for that API route. So it feels like you just
makes sense.
And yeah, with like the new React server components as well, because it's statically rendered, you can actually you know, query within like the trusted context right within a component. It looks like it's running client side because you're writing it like in the render component, but it'll actually run server side and the client will just get the HTML. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So then the thing I was thinking about was, okay, so that's the route I was going to. So I'll just continue with that.
Yeah.
You wanted to look at that as well, or you leave that with me? This time I'm happy for both.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to try out implementing it, I'd go for it. I've done this like, you know, probably 1,000 times with like various Next apps. So not the most exciting thing for me, but yeah, I think it'll be a good experience for you at least to learn how this works.
Yeah, cool.
I sent you a link to this thing called Create T3 app. You can use it as an example for like best practices boilerplate on how to like set up Nextauth and all this stuff. So yeah, you can spin up just like a test app with that and then see how they wire up all the components and the auth, and then like follow the Nextauth docs as well, and it should be straightforward from there.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, I'll have a look. Now the rest of the part is once we have that, then it becomes like, okay, saving the mapping of the GitHub username and the Solana wallet into like a flat file. So the CSV, I was thinking of something where you could allow a commit into the repo where it appends something. I don't know if that is the cleanest way of lightest way to kind of do it, just to keep it simple. Because I see we save a bunch of stuff under JSON in the data folder, right? So I was just thinking, why not just do a wallets folder, and either we just do a drop, like an easy commit of just the JSON, right? And like one JSON per user, and then we just have a script that kind of compiles everything once we want to do an airdrop or something. Or we just do an append and we just have it already clean and ready in one file. So that's where I was kind of leaning towards.
I think like it doesn't really matter for this first iteration because like we're gonna end up putting it on chain anyways. So like whatever is like quick and easy for just storing it in the repo, because like before, like right now it would just be really to like have that association for like just displaying someone's like Discord and user and wallet and letting them sign in maybe and do some stuff that way. But when it comes to actually it like being for token distribution, we'll want it to be like a bit more, decentralized, because otherwise basically whoever has push permissions to the repo can just like change whatever wallet addresses belong to anyone. So it can't be like a trusted source of truth basically, but
Yeah,
it can be like good enough just for display purposes, and anything that doesn't actually involve moving funds for now.
Okay, so yeah, we do the first iteration just to get the workflow going.
Yeah.
And then I agree, we just need to think a bit more about the storage.
Yeah.
But also what Jin was saying, which made sense, is actually if you do just a GitHub to Discord mapping, then he could just use the tipcc bot and he can just tip people directly.
Yeah, I mean, that's doable as well for like something easy, but I think I want to make it so that you can, like tip people directly, even from like the Leaderboard app itself, once you like sign in with your wallet or something. So we can do it that way just for now, but I think like I'm down to like build something that's a bit more, tailor made for us and what we need.
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. I think it makes sense. But still, I think there's value in kind of getting the thing going.
Yeah.
The mapping at least, right?
Yeah.
The 3 value mapping, I think it has value anyway for all sorts of things, not just this one.
Yeah.
What is this passport thing?
So this is what I was gonna say is another option that we could use to instead of like OAuthing ourselves and saving it to like our local database, this one, like Gitcoin Passport's basically a open source standard for like Sybil resistance, and they have all the mechanisms to like connect a bunch of different like identity pieces to one like address. So you can use Gitcoin Passport to connect like Discord and GitHub and all these things. So this is basically what's like the best pre-made thing already out there for linking identity to wallet addresses. I'm not sure if they like support Solana yet. But yeah, so now this is also like a fully on-chain app, so they were just updating my identities and checking what my current things are.
That's cool.
But so see, I have to like update my GitHub connection, and so if I click update, click verify, it'll go through like the OAuth flow. So then that way we're like offloading that to Gitcoin Passport instead of having to implement it ourselves. And then in that way we would need no servers whatsoever. We would just like integrate the Passport SDK into the front end.
Yeah, I saw that, but the issue you have is they're built for EVM mostly. So all the solutions out there. So I found this, right?
Yeah.
Now I see, because it's Gitcoin. Gitcoin is EVM, and then you have a lot like the Think Privy, the open platform that the guys started showing us is EVM as well.
Yeah.
So you saw the guy Tiny Pellets. He talked about the fact that they're going to onboard Solana via EVM. So yeah, definitely, I think this for me is just the first iteration. We just do it quickly, maybe because like Jin mentioned that he wants to kind of see if we can get the first version of our PGF done this week.
Yeah.
So this could be something that could be just a V0, and then just kind of iterate from there. And if there is a clean Solana integration that works with most EVM tools like these ones, then yeah, for sure we can try that.
Yeah. And I think like I wouldn't use anything like Privy. I would want to like keep the wallet stuff separate from that. This like it is EVM, like, but it can be easily extended to support Solana and stuff too. So we wouldn't actually use their interface. We would just use their SDK or something behind the scenes. But you're right, as in like, so there's a benefit to having this because it also is like proof of humanity or proof of uniqueness. So it's like Sybil resistance. And once you have Sybil resistance, it's very useful because you can have people like voting and allocating stuff in a way that prevents people from like gaming the system. So like that as a general property is useful to have, but we might not need it right away just for the purposes of like, linking wallet addresses to this. And so for that purpose, we can like spin our own implementation by using Tableland, which basically is just like let you store data on
that's what we were
chain
talking about
in like
yesterday,
a SQL database type thing. So yeah, it's just basically using like a layer 2 as the backend for storing that information. And it doesn't matter if it's like we're storing it on an EVM layer 2, because it's just like you can store the Solana address on Ethereum layer 2,
Yeah, of
and
course, it's
it
just
doesn't
text.
matter. Yeah, it's
Because
just
at the end of the
data
day,
storage.
yeah, it's just text. Yeah, it's just text.
Yeah.
So it's still SQLite. You write whatever you want in the SQL, and then you just push it as a database, so you can have whatever you want on there.
Yeah, exactly. And the powerful thing with this is like then other people can build on that on-chain data permissionlessly, and you can compose that data to do like interesting things like, you know, automating claims of tokens where the token contract looks at the data on like who did what as a means of, you know, distributing something. So yeah, I think
So you would push. So then you would do the full data of like. Okay, so then you would push actually in that database. You would push the whole leaderboard data plus the wallet plus everything. That way you can kind of look at it.
So I mean,
do it permission.
I wouldn't necessarily push the whole raw leaderboard data. I would maybe push like identities linked to accounts and then like linked to IDs of data points. But then like the raw data could be stored on IPFS or Arweave, because we just need like the pointers to those things and make sure that they're permanently available. And so yeah, like we could have on-chain, like, so there's like daily reports, for example. So there could be like an on-chain record of each day's summary, and then it just like links out to different JSON files for, you know, different users or whatnot.
That's actually super interesting, because if you zoom out a bit and you take out Eliza from the equation for a second, or even AI16Z, any kind of project like this or DAO like this would, you know, they always struggle. I was listening to Sean Jin speak about this on a podcast, I think 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because it actually always relies on a kind of a human or a group of humans to kind of decide who did what and assign a value.
Yeah.
But if you start having these kind of things where, yeah, definitely it's gamified, it's point based, and then everything is on chain, and then you just have an automated way of like just every week it just looks at like who did what this week and just pay people in a way based on that, then it can be very useful for all DAOs out there and all open source projects out there.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a balance to it too. I think like, because we did this exact thing like 5 years ago, you know, automating, tracking GitHub contributions, tying to token distributions for like DAO tooling.
Okay.
And so like we have like 5 years of hard learned lessons. That's why I'm like getting involved in this, to like see how to build this properly. And like one of the biggest lessons is like you never want to reward like the metrics directly. It's actually a good thing that there's human intervention in determining like what was valuable, because you know, there's someone who could be making like tons of PRs and commits and touching every part of the code base, but not really having you know, a huge impact on the organization. And then someone comes in with like one PR that changes the whole course of the project. And so it's actually is very effective to have that responsibility be handled by humans, but you don't do it in a way where it's like a centralized set of humans, but you allow everyone to participate in that process of curating what is valuable and not, and then get rewarded if they curated the right things. So for different features of Eliza, for example, people could like essentially like fund those features, and then the DAO retroactively distribute tokens to the features that got built and delivered value. And all this data is useful to basically back propagate that value to see who did this work. But the data itself shouldn't be used to calculate what value was created, because that creates like wrong incentives essentially, and it over time gets captured, and then it becomes like who has the power to control the weights of the algorithm. They have it's like it hides the power in a way that it doesn't actually make it decentralized. It just makes it so that whoever is going to be willing to like game the system and act in a defective way, they'll be able to
Yeah.
take advantage and, you know, gain that power. And so there's always like power vacuums that form when you like remove that. And so it's more about managing it and like creating more leaders instead of like trying to be leaderless.
No, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Especially, and also the cool thing about difference between 5 years ago and now is now you have AI agents that can help you actually, you know, filter through that and see, okay, which PR was actually, you know, doing stuff and
Exactly.
which one like was doing,
Yeah.
you know, just someone just updating a doc like
Yeah.
20 times a day and then just, you know, scoring high on the leaderboard.
Exactly.
And yeah, that's interesting because value means a different thing for different people. And to your point, like I see it now, like it's very interesting to be in both discords, right? Because you have the AI16Z one and the Eliza focus development one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always interesting to see what people ask as a feature and like, oh, is this available, is this plugin available? Because then you might think, oh, this plugin everyone's going to use it, but actually it's like the random one that gets built on the side that actually gets the most use.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. Cool, man. I gotta hop now, but looking forward to
same.
see how you go with the auth stuff, and talk soon.
Yeah. Cool, man. All right. Speak
Cheers.
soon.
Peace.
Thanks. Bye.